Long ago, when the world was still young, people were foolish and their decisions were often reckless. Life was hard and answers were scarce. In those days, wisdom was not shared freely as it is now. It floated. It floated in the air, hidden in the wind, trapped in the rivers, and buried deep in the earth. Only those with sharp eyes and great fortune could find even a little of it. But there was one creature who, through cleverness and cunning, knew how to gather wisdom. Kweku Ananse the Spider. He was not the strongest nor the largest, but Ananse had something even more valuable. A mind sharper than a serpent's bite and as quick as lightning. Ananse decided that if he could collect all the world's wisdom into one place, he would become the wisest being to ever live. And so, he went about on his mission, tricking people, animals, and even spirits to gather every scrap of knowledge they had. Slowly, bit by bit, Ananse filled a large clay pot with the world's wisdom, sealing it tightly to keep its contents safe. The pot was heavy with knowledge, and its secrets swelled within. Kweku Ananse smiled to himself, knowing that he alone would now hold the key to all the mysteries of life. But as Ananse grew wise, he also grew fearful. What if someone found his pot? What if another clever creature took it from him? His wisdom would be gone, and he would be like everyone else again. No, he couldn't allow that to happen. So Ananse thought to himself, I must hide this pot where no one, not even the strongest or the smartest, can reach it. After much thought, Ananse looked up the tallest tree in the forest. Its branches reached so high that they touched the sky, and the trunk was smooth and impossible to climb for the most creatures. Yes, Ananse whispered, this is the perfect hiding spot. So early one morning, before the sun had fully risen, Ananse tied the heavy pot of wisdom to his belly. His legs trembled under the weight, but his greed for knowledge drove him forward. Slowly, he began to climb the tree, but as he moved, the pot swung wildly, banging against his legs and chest. His arms flailed, and his legs slipped. He tried again, gripping the tree with all his might, but each time the pot seemed to pull him down, making the climb harder and harder. Just on the other side, Ananse's young son, Ntinkuma, had been watching his father struggle. Ntinkuma was a quiet child, often sitting under the trees, observing the world around him. After a while, he couldn't hold his tongue any longer and called up to his father. Papa, I think if you tie the pot to your back instead of your belly, it will be easier to climb. Ananse froze in his tracks. Anger boiled inside him. How dare you, a child, try to tell me, the great Ananse, what to do? I have gathered all the world's wisdom. What could you possibly know? But no matter how much Ananse tried to ignore his son's words, the pot kept getting in his way. Exhausted and frustrated, Ananse grumbled to himself, Hey, how can it be that with all this wisdom, I still cannot climb this tree? Reluctantly, he decided to try his son's suggestion. Rambling, he untied the pot from his belly and strapped it to his back instead. To his surprise, the climb became easier and he moved up the tree much faster. For a moment, he felt proud. But then, a new thought crept into his mind. If this boy who knows nothing could give me such wise advice, maybe I don't have all the wisdom after all. Rage consumed him. His pride was wounded, and his greed turned to fury. In a fit of anger, Ananse ripped the pot from his back and threw it down with all his might. The pot hit the ground, shattering into 1,000 pieces. The wind picked up, swirling through the shards, lifting bits of wisdom into the air. The forest buzzed with the hum of knowledge escaping into the world. Ananse stared in disbelief as wisdom he had worked so hard to gather scattered everywhere. Into the trees, into the rivers, the soil, and even the hearts of people and animals. The birds swooped down and took pieces of wisdom for themselves. The river carried wisdom to distant lands. The trees whispered secrets to one another, and the wind carried knowledge to every corner of the earth. From that day on, wisdom was no longer kept in one place, but spread far and wide for all to find. And Kweku and Ananse, though still clever, realized that no one, not even him, could have all the wisdom in the world. Each person, each creature carries a piece of it, but only together can they be truly wise. As for Intikuma, Ananse's son, he grew to be a wise young man, for he had learned something even his father didn't know, that sometimes the simplest advice can carry the most powerful truths. Moral of the story: no one person can hold all the wisdom in the world. It is meant to be shared and passed on, for true wisdom comes when we listen and learn from one another. The end.